So this week we've got some new renders based on the rumours of the 2021 M2 MacBook Air, and I don't even know where to start. I'm just going to say my name. I'm Clem from Future Reference, and today we're going to talk about everything that's not quite right with the 2021 M2 MacBook Air. Now, I don't know what I was expecting for the next generation MacBook Air, but I certainly think that the massive redesign for the 24-inch iMac certainly hyped up my expectations. To put it quite simply, if the new renders of the 2021 M2 MacBook Air are accurate, that means this is not going to be that drastic of a redesign. I was thinking maybe Apple can take advantage of the power efficiency of the Apple Silicon and maybe reduce the overall size, the overall footprint of the MacBook Air, but to me, this seems more like just a rebranding of the MacBook Pro design. As you can see, the iconic wedge shape of the MacBook Air is now gone and it's been replaced with a more squarish design like the current MacBook Pro, and it's quite worrying because Jon Prosser has always been quite reliable in terms of his leaks, and this design is probably what we're going to get. And to me, Apple is just recycling the current design of the MacBook Pro, slap on some colors and call it a day. Of course, one thing to bear in mind is that the very last redesign for the iMac happened back in 2012, so whatever redesign for the MacBook Air that Apple has got for us is not going to be as drastic as the 24-inch iMac seemed, but I don't know, like with a new processor architecture, I just don't think a rebranded MacBook Pro is what we're looking for. This rumored redesign of the MacBook Air is definitely not befitting the success of Apple Silicon. With first impressions out of the way, let's dig more into the details of the renders. I think it's safe for me to say that the color options, they look great, but that will be a very shallow level of analysis on my part. One thing that really caught my eye is the keyboard. It's white. And the fact that it's white, if I own this MacBook Air with a white keyboard, I know for sure it's going to annoy me so much. I've always not been a great fan of the white keyboard that comes with an iMac, and that extends to the Magic Keyboard with Touch ID that comes with the 24-inch iMac. The whiteness of the keycap is just asking for it. It's just asking to be filthy. It's going to look dirty. Now, for the Magic Keyboard I got for my mum alongside her iMac, I think I can look past the white keycaps because she's just going to use her iMac at home, and to keep the keys clean, I just need to keep my home clean, and that's it. But for the MacBook Air, a device that I probably want to travel with, a device I want to use in cafes, at airports, or on trains, I can't imagine how easy it's going to be for the keys to be stained. For direct comparison, I think you can just look at my Apple Watch band. I mean, every day when I go shower, I actually clean my Apple Watch under running water to get the sweat away, and still it's stained, probably because of my jeans or something. And I believe that as much as everyone's going to try to keep the keycaps clean, the keyboard's probably going to show its age in just a year or two, and maybe that's Apple's strategy to get you to buy a new MacBook Air down the line. I don't know, but yeah, longevity is definitely not a strong suit for the MacBook Air keyboard. Also, a side note, I hope this is just a detail they've borrowed directly from the iMac Magic Keyboard and not be necessarily true in the final product, but the top row, the function keys of the keyboard, are now taller than before. And with those function keys being taller this time around, that means proportionally, the trackpad of the MacBook Air might be shorter and smaller this time, and I don't know, it's weird if Apple's trying to shrink the size of the trackpad. I mean, I like the size of the trackpad on my MacBook Pro right now, and I would not want any of that to change. Next up, let's talk about the display of the 2021 M2 MacBook Air, or more like the things surrounding the display, the bezels. Even for the new 24-inch iMac, I'm not so sure about the white bezels of the display. Apple probably thinks that white is a better canvas to show off the new vibrant colors of the iMac, but I don't think I agree with the white bezels outside of that context. It's just very counterintuitive if you take into consideration what Apple has been pushing with their software. For the previous years, Apple has been pushing dark mode on iOS, iPadOS and macOS, and even with thicker bezels, the dark mode works really well on the Mac because the interface just blends in with the black bezels. The hardware and software designs are coherent, and it also coincides with the transition of the iPhone and iPad to their respective all-screen designs with smaller black bezels instead of larger bezels with white options. With the new 24-inch iMac and possibly the upcoming M2 MacBook Air moving to highlight the bezels with a white coat, I just don't think Apple's hardware and software design teams are moving towards the same direction anymore. There is indeed the possibility that Apple wants to keep black bezels as an exclusive feature for the M2 MacBook Pro, but then that brings me to another issue. Does it mean that the black bezels are the only trait left to differentiate between a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro? The current M1 MacBook Pro is £300 or $300 more expensive than the M1 MacBook Air, and what do you get as a result, as extras? You get an extra GPU core on the MacBook Pro, but then you can just add a little bit of money to add the 8th core to the MacBook Air if you really want to. You get a marginally brighter display, you get, in quotes, studio quality microphones, you get 2 hours of extra battery life, so 18 hours to 20 hours, and then you get the touch bar. And if you ask me, that £300 is totally not worth it. And this might not even be the case for the next generation MacBook Pro. It's been rumored that the next MacBook Pro will not feature a touch bar, and I've talked about this in a previous video, so do check it out for all the details of these rumors. And of course, Apple just kind of confirmed that rumor anyway. With the release of the 24-inch iMac, the new Magic Keyboard with Touch ID does not feature a touch bar anyway. It shows that Apple is just not committed to the touch bar anymore. With that in mind, what is even still there to differentiate between a MacBook Pro and a MacBook Air? Oh, I know, how about reducing the number of USB-C ports on the MacBook Air to make the MacBook Pro seem more powerful? And we've got that. We've got one. We might just get one USB-C port for the M2 MacBook Air. Someone just needs to remind Apple why the 12-inch MacBook died. One portable at all. I can't even access the content of my external disk when I'm trying to charge my 12-inch MacBook. As far as I'm concerned, this is no innovation. This is indeed a step, but only a step backwards. I was originally quite excited about the next generation of M2 MacBooks, but hearing all the rumors and seeing all these renders, I'm not quite sure that's the case anymore. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. And to keep the videos coming, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more of my tips, tricks and reviews. This has been Clem. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the very next one on Future Reference.